Hello and welcome back to Discovering Durham University with At the Durham Student. On today's episode, Debunking Durham Stereotypes, we're going to address the common misconceptions and stereotypes about Durham University. We're going to provide you real stories from students who've experienced the essence of Durham, and we're also going to talk about the importance of inclusivity and diversity at Durham University. We hope you enjoy. Hi guys, welcome back to our podcast. Today I'm joined by Fran and Amy, and this episode's more just like a little reassurance things about any worries that we had going into uni. So hopefully you guys enjoy. I'm going to pass over to Fran and Amy, who will now introduce themselves. You go for it.
Oh, okay. I'm Amy. I'm a fourth year at Hilby College. Fourth year because I did a year abroad last year in Germany, and I study English literature.
Hey, I'm Frankie. I'm a third year, so I'm a finalist. I also study English, but I study it with history as a joint honours, and I'm at South College, the same one as Crystal.
So I'm just going to jump straight into our first question. So what are the most common stereotypes or misconceptions you've heard about Durham University?
It's a bit like an old boys club sort of vibe,
Yeah.
and it feels quite like cliquey and stuff like that. But I think those are like stereotypes and misconceptions. I think like in my experience anyway, I think you really do find your people, and even if there's people who come from different backgrounds to you, or you've never necessarily like encountered people like that before, just because of like where you went to school or where you grew up and things, like it doesn't mean that those people aren't actually what you think they are. And also too, like there's so many people at uni that you can meet, and you will just find your people. Like I thought at first I was like, whoa, like this is just not what I was, not that it wasn't what I was expecting, but it was just a very, very different new environment.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you just, I don't know what it is, you just find your people. It's so weird.
No, you definitely do. Like I put for here about the like common stereotypes is like that there's only private school people here, and that those private school people only want to be friends with people from their schools before, and that they have no interest in meeting new people. And obviously, like, you do get people who have friends before uni, and then they go to the same colleges and stuff, and they stay mates. But I actually think that's such a minority. I think the majority of people come to uni because they want to make friends. And especially in, like, Freshers' Week, everyone brings such, like, a buzz and an energy of, like, wanting to just get to know you and chat to as many people as possible, that you do just kind of, like you said, meet your people. And like uni is so big, and there's so many opportunities like outside of your college and outside of the people that you live with, that you can avoid the people that you don't want to be friends with anyway. And then you can
like anywhere.
You can like find your friends. So I definitely wouldn't like worry about the stereotypes of like not making friends if you're not like posh old boy private school person.
And that very much covers like my next question of like how your own experiences at Durham compare to these stereotypes. But no, it is very true, because it's like you have these misconceptions, stereotypes, because I feel like things get so sensationalized.
You're so right.
You only ever hear the bad things, or you only ever hear things that have been almost, and it does play in your fit, because going into any university, whether it's Durham or whether it's like any other university, you're going to have those fears of finding your people.
Yeah, of course,
So it's at Durham, and I think the way that the system's set up in terms of like a collegiate level as well, I think it is it helps actually find your people, and there's so many different hubs, whether it's your college, whether it's your department, whether it's the wider university. So I do feel like we have a very unique opportunity to meet people and to mix, and it's almost like you said in Freshers' Week, people, it's all the same energy and all the same vibe. So but definitely, so like, and I know obviously Fran, you work for the EDI department in Durham, so can you discuss the university's efforts and initiatives in promoting diversity and inclusion?
So I work for the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion team, like as Crystal said, like as a student intern, and I think like from doing that, because before I like kind of did a lot of work in like racial equality or like social mobility type of things, in more on the student like side. So then it's going kind of like to the university side, to like the staff side, has been so interesting to see like the behind the scenes of all the work that the university does put into it, like all of the investment and all of the kind of like the time and effort and initiatives that they're like launching. And I think it's so like positive to see that like they're recognising that, you know, Durham's not perfect. There are issues with representation, and no one's going to deny that. But like that, at least there's that acknowledgement, and there's like energy and time being put into it to make things better. And then I think like being a student intern has been really cool, because I think it's so good to have that collaboration between like students and the
Yeah.
university, because I think sometimes it can be like somewhat antagonistic or a bit, you know, like not having the same kind of goals or not really knowing where each person stands. So I think like working together with both like students and and like the wider uni in the team has been so good. And like how I know that because you obviously like do your internship in careers for EDI, and I think like new just like the cross collaboration across like student organizations like Durham People of Colour Association with like careers or with the EDI team kind of like makes like such an impact. And I think like I already know like new kind of initiatives like alumni networks and you know kind of career mentoring schemes and stuff that are like going to make such a big difference. So there's so much kind of like student led but also like collaborative work going on. It's nice.
Yeah, it's nice that our input and voices are wanting to be heard by the
Yeah.
university.
Yeah.
So
And are valued.
Yeah, they are valued.
So like having these like specific student internships, and even with like with marketing with the Durham student with us, Amy, it's I think every single job that I've worked with, I've felt valued in terms of they want to hear my voice.
They really do.
I agree.
They know my experience, like being a working class person of colour at Durham University. They want to hear about my experiences and how they can better help support me and other people in similar situations to me. And that is something that I didn't think much of going into Durham University. I just thought, you know, this is the way Durham University is going to be, and there isn't ever going to be any
like change
or improvement. But like especially in my like 4 years at Durham University, just the amount of like change and growth that's been like spearheaded, especially and it has been a lot like student led, and it's been supported by the university, like by my managers, by my colleagues. But how passionate and how compassionate students are at Durham University to create a better environment where you know, like I remember we did this talk and like it stuck with me how you said like students of colour, students just in general should be thriving at university and not only just surviving. And that sentiment has been felt by pretty much every single student I've spoken to. But what about you, Amy? So like any
I was gonna say, I just think as well, like in terms of student voices, like outside of the like roles of like internships and jobs, also like I think the college system really helps with that. And I think that you're like so welcome to email your principal or like email the college staff, and not only for like if you need like financial support, and like I know like my college have really helped me financially when I've like struggled, and if I've needed to like buy books, or if I've needed to like when I was doing my year abroad, I like emailed being like, can I like have money for my flights, and like, they like gave them and stuff. But also they want to hear you, like you said, like everyone here is so passionate and like wants to make university a thriving experience for every student, not just the students that like can quote unquote afford it. And like I think that if you email your college, they're always so willing to listen, and because you're actually a person in your college rather than just like a number of a student, like they actually get to know you and they want to know how they can improve your experience. And if you have like if you want to host something in your college, like getting like working class people together or things like that, then they were like so happy to host those events. Like it doesn't have to be always super official. And I think that's nice.
The community aspect of college like makes such a difference, because I think like similar to what we were saying at the start, like about like preconceptions, oh it's so posh, it's so white, but it's like because of the college system you can kind of like choose, like obviously your college choice doesn't mean the absolute world, but like at the same time you can it just gives you like a little mini family within the big like whole
so
university.
nice.
So then it's like, even if you know you feel like like so intimidated by like people in your seminars or people in your tutorials or like I don't know the lecture hall and stuff like that, you know that in first year you'll go back to like your comm and you'll have like your flat, or you'll have you know the people that live in your corridor, and like you get to be like really close with them. So I think it's like and then also just like being like, oh my gosh, like you're a Southie, I'm a Southie, like it's so
it's such a nice community.
It is a nice community.
You're right, and you get to like see people walking through town. Like I don't really feel, sometimes it's a blessing and a curse, but I feel like every time I walk through town I do see someone that I know from my college.
So bad,
but it's nice.
It's always when I'm looking my worst.
But if you're feeling fresh and you're feeling up for talking, it is quite nice. And I also think in terms of like college is really helpful in terms of like just general like mental health support, or like like academic support
That's
and
so
things like
true.
that. Like, I just think the college really benefits students who might be from a more like less privileged background and stuff like that.
No, that is, and it's all strange because I think a lot of people probably coming into it don't know that. Like in a sense, I was thinking, what? That's so weird. Like colleges, or you're living in a corridor with loads of people. That seems
it
so
sounds a bit
like
posh.
it sounds so boarding
yeah.
school. But then like the whole community aspect of it, and like the layers of kind of assistance, help, like guidance that you can get through it. I think like
for sure.
make it. Do you know what I mean? Like make it actually a lot more of like a welcoming space for everyone.
I agree. And it's nice to be put in a corridor and like be put in accommodation with so many different people, because I would say like a misconception I also had coming to university and coming to Durham was that I was like all boarding school people, all private school people are like a certain type of person that wouldn't want to speak to me. And
Don't have the time of day.
yeah,
for
they
you.
don't. And that was so not true. Like within like 2 days, I was like, one, I'm like not going to be able to avoid people who went to private school, but also I don't want to. Like, they're actually
that's so
it's
true.
such a tiny, tiny minority of people that you can very easily avoid if you want to. That you don't just get at Durham, you get it everywhere. And so it's so not like it's so they're so not against you, and to actually meet so many different people when you're put in a corridor with them, and you get to learn so much from so many people's different experiences, and they want to learn about your
yours,
background and like what you feel like coming into Durham and how you've had like your upbringing and how that's like influenced your thinking. It's so
it like expands how you think and also like just how you approach like meeting new people.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's such a good life skill actually.
Is,
like going forward, like thinking about that. Like I don't feel like. Because I think even as people that have come from state school, we have our own preconceptions.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
Like,
it works both
learn.
ways.
Yeah.
So then like having that and like battling those, or like having like deeper conversations as well with those people, and being like seeing their perspective on education, on their perspective on university, or like it also just kind of like makes you think more deeply about like also being proud of yourself and how far you've come and how hard you've worked, but also like to know that, you know, everyone's kind of had different experiences with that.
Yeah. And I think as well, like, because Durham is quite academic, like you're more you tend to have those conversations more. I don't know what it is, but like people are really like genuinely interested in like your experiences and how that's like developed you. Stuff like that,
No, that is so true.
So how does the focus on EDI impact the day-to-day life and experiences of students at Durham?
So I think people are just generally more aware about like the things that they're saying and like the conversations that they're having. I think that a lot of people are just generally actually really respectful of like different backgrounds and stuff. And I think also you see that students like actively want change. I know we were all kind of saying that like students who come from like the non like stereotypical like Durham background want their university experience to be just as good, and they want to thrive at uni just as much as like everyone else does. And I think that you can see that. I think people really like threw themselves into so many different societies. So there's like 93% Club, which is for like state school kids who like to better their career, and so you get to go to like networking events and you get free headshots for your like LinkedIn profile, and you get to learn about like the like secrets of LinkedIn and how to use it properly, and like to get a job after uni and get grad schemes. And then there's also like women in business and women in STEM societies where you get given like a mentor from someone who kind of has like a grad job or has or is on the career path that you want to follow, and you can like speak to them. And then there's also like grants and scholarships for like students who aren't like as like maybe in like a not as privileged financial position, and so they're actually like really easy to apply for, and you get emails about those. And your college also has like their own grants and scholarships. So I think there's like everyday impact on student life, especially if you look for it, and like especially if you like join these societies and like apply for these grants. Like you just have to kind of look for it. And again, like there's even bursaries for things that aren't, you wouldn't think. So like not just things like books and like other like academic things. Like I've used like bursary things for my year abroad, and I didn't think I would ever be able to do a year abroad because of like the finances. And then I was encouraged to apply for like the Turing grant, and then also like my college gave money, and my college do a grant just for travel and like just for traveling. So if you say like this is for my year abroad, they're not going to condemn you just because it's not like explicitly academic. Or like one of my friends was doing like, she's been given this opportunity to go to like a startup in Australia, and she's asked for money for that, and it's really cool. Yeah, it's like really cool things that you can search for, and Durham kind of are actually very willing to give you the money for it.
Yeah.
You just have to like send a nice email.
Be a bit proactive.
Yeah, be a bit proactive. So I would say like in terms of impact on student life, I think especially from like a career and financial perspective, if you join societies and you get involved and you're not afraid to ask, I think that's a big key thing. Is like, don't be afraid to ask. If they don't have the money, they'll just say no. But likely they do, and they'll say yes.
That's like definitely the big thing, I think, with EDI at Durham. I think there's so many opportunities to like get involved in so many different ways, like whether that is with student cultural societies or kind of social mobility societies like 93% Club, or kind of like being a campus ambassador for certain organizations, or, you know, kind of like doing these internships and things, because it's really cool to like be working on EDI at Durham and then like to get paid for it. Like that's, do you know what I mean? Like that's just
it's almost getting like, especially because I know we're all equally very like interested in like EDI initiatives, it's almost getting paid for something that we were doing anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like,
you're so right.
Because obviously we're actively interested in improving our own student experiences and also other people's student experiences. So our internships, whether it's with marketing or with the EDI department, it's like, it's things we would have done anyways, but it's nice to actually be able to
get the recognition.
And
also
right,
I feel like it's kind of not to be so blunt about it, but it's like the university also like putting the money where the mouth is. Do you know what I mean? Like they're kind of, if we're trying to make Durham like as inclusive and as diverse as possible, and also making sure that if it is, you know, if you're having students, if Durham is becoming increasingly diverse year on year, that like Durham's infrastructure suits those people and is also like adapting with that. So it's quite nice to like see that, you know, you can have that, like you can have that impact just in the work you do, and it doesn't even have to be kind of like in terms of marketing or with like EDI, because you can also do it like academically, and there's lots of opportunities with it. Like last year I did an internship also with the university in decolonising the curriculum in English studies. And it was also interesting to see kind of then the academic aspects and how that also like, you know, it kind of spans the entire like Pan University in terms of the initiatives going on and, you know, them listening to students and what you want and how you think that things should be changed and improved for the better, and then being able to challenge it, and also that being encouraged, and you know, for you them to be like, criticize, you know, like we don't want it to just kind of stay the same. We want there to be change. So I feel like that's like definitely something that if you're involved, if you're interested in that, like there's so many opportunities to get involved with it.
And it is reassuring to know that the uni, like you made a good point then about that the uni is like changing with the like, as the uni diversifies, it's changing with it, because it's quite daunting coming to a place with like when Durham has so many misconceptions. You don't really want to be the guinea pig, and you don't really want to come to Durham and be like, why would I come here when
you
like,
could be in a place that maybe you'd be more comfortable.
Exactly, But actually to know that Durham is changing and that you're not going to have to come here and then like fight for your right to be heard, and like actually you want to be listened to is a really nice thought, because I think
that is so
true. I was quite scared when I came here that I would have to be like the representative of all state schools, and I kind of think that I went into Freshers Week
with
like,
that
with that aggressive like I am gonna represent, and then obviously it's just not like that. Like you just actually have to be a bit more of a normal person and like just to kind of have more productive conversations. It's like what I went to before about how I thought that private school people would not want to speak to me. That's obviously just not true. And Durham want to like hear your voice, and they want to make this place more accommodating for you.
They do.
And so again, like you said as well about the Durham student and how we like help create, like you guys should follow at the Durham student. But
on Instagram.
And TikTok.
And
Instagram, TikTok, everything.
It's
We're
fab,
just taking over now, aren't we?
But like it's nice to see like from actual student perspectives, like normal student life, and you see that everyone is having so much fun here, and that you're just kind of like able to fit in and able to kind of create an actual life here that's a bit more normal, and you don't have to like constantly be fighting for your right to be heard because people want to listen to you.
Yeah.
Like our main objective, especially at the Durham Student as well, like obviously if you go to our Instagram, it looks beautifully curated because it's all aesthetic and like that dark like academia, but every single meeting we go to, it is more about brainstorming how we can represent as a diverse like range of students as possible. Our main objective at the Durham Student is to just represent as many students as possible because there isn't one typical Durham student, there isn't one typical student full stop. So it's nice to know that that's like we work with the marketing department and that's our aim. The aim isn't to put Durham in the best light possible or to like fake our like experiences and stuff. It's actually our day-to-day lives, and it seems to do quite well. So yeah, and that actually passes me into my next question of, so what are some ways students and the university community are actively challenging and changing such stereotypes?
I would say that like something quite active from the uni is, I don't know if this is about challenging stereotypes like whilst here, but it's more to do with like, again, that like the uni like building and transforming into a more like appropriate accommodating space is the summer schools that they do. So I'm like a student ambassador and we work them every year. Yeah, shout out. Which is also what I would also say is I would encourage anyone, if you come to Durham, to like get as many student jobs as possible.
No, there's so many.
There's
literally
many,
so many.
yeah.
They've basically given it to you.
Yeah, literally. And they love like
money.
Yeah, it's amazing. And like if you want to be a student ambassador, like you can work the summer schools, you get to earn great money. It's really fun. And like same with like your college bar and like the Durham Student, things like that. So there's also ways to make money whilst you're here that you can still fit in with academics. But anyway, back to the summer schools is if you're like, it's in between year 12 and 13 and you can apply and there's either STEP, Sutton Trust or supported progression, and each of them you stay in Durham for a week and then you get to like pick your subjects and you get to like go to like pretend mini lectures and have mini seminars, and you also get to do so many fun like little social activities, and you essentially just be a student for a week, and then if you like complete the week at the end you get an instant like a confirmed offer, and that's a lower rate, so it should be like AAB. And so that's an amazing thing that I would encourage if anyone's listening to this who's in like year 12 or year 11 even, thinking about applying to it, because it's amazing. And it's also just a week free. You get to like live in a uni for a week. It's a great thing to write on your personal statement.
Just to see like if uni's for you as
Yeah,
well.
exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like
You're
not
not
necessarily
pressured
just
when
for
you're there.
Durham, but do you know what I mean? Also then you'll probably realise how beautiful Durham is.
Yeah.
But it's also nice to just like, because I think that is the thing as well, is kind of like before, I remember when I was like about to confirm my place, and I came to Durham and I was like, wow, like it's
gorgeous.
so different to what I was used to growing up, and like I don't know anywhere else I had been, but like I think it's like literally the perfect student city. Like I think it's such a good place to be a student.
Such a good place. It's beautiful.
But yeah.
And also,
okay.
I was going to say, just like going on from the reduced offer is, I think another active thing to like challenge stereotypes Durham is doing is they give contextual offers, which is really nice. And so like if you're from like a postcode that doesn't have many people going into higher education, or like you're from like a school that doesn't have many people going to uni, they'll often reduce your offer if you firm it, which I think is just, again, they're like acknowledging and realising that like people aren't on equal playing fields.
Coming in
and you come like more equal.
No, that is so true. I remember when I received that contextual offer, I was so gassed.
Yeah, I was so happy.
But yeah, I think other ways that students and the university community are like actively challenging stereotypes, like I know for one that like from working with Durham People of Colour Association over the last 2 years now, we hold like anti-racism training during Freshers Week, and we offer that to like all of the colleges. So for instance, like John's and Cuffs, like and a few other ones I think as well, like did that this year in Freshers Week. So I think it's like the colleges acknowledging that it's really important for people to have this knowledge about the fundamentals of race and racism. And it's like similar to what you're saying about like kind of leveling the playing field or making it a thing for everyone to be aware of, so that if you're a student of colour coming into a predominantly white space, you know that people are like actively being educated about it, and that like everyone can kind of have that understanding, but also like a space to ask questions and to like it is part of like challenging those stereotypes and being like like making people talk about it. I think is like increasing, you know, racial dialogue on campus is just so important, I think. But yeah, and I think in in conjunction as well with the, like, how is the university themselves as well doing it, not just student groups and not just like cultural societies, but like the student voice in departments and kind of, I know that history department, for instance, has like a student voice forum where you can go, and there's like an EDI committees for all departments. Yeah. And then there's also like student voice like forums that we have in history or something like that. And you can go and literally just like say what's in your chest. Say what's in your chest.
And they want to hear you as well.
And they want to hear you, and they're there like making notes, and you know what I mean? And they know that they're discussing it in their own meetings as well. So I think it is just one of those things of, if like, say you come here and you're like, like, maybe I do want to change this, or maybe if this was adapted, I'd feel a bit more comfortable.
Yeah, you can.
Tell people about it, because people want to hear, and I feel like that's such like a big kind of life skill as well, just kind of like speaking up when you want to, and also being like, wait, this isn't actually quite right. Like, let me, because also to some extent, like, the university can't really know because they're not the students. So I feel like you're the one living the experience every single day. Like, you know, you can use that to like better it. Yeah. And then also think about like the legacy leading. Like, for instance, when I think of Crystal, like all of the work that she's done, like shout out Crystal, like for other students, you know what I mean, coming in, like it's so nice to know that you've like left that legacy. Sorry, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm making it sound like a eulogy.
Left that legacy. Sorry. No, but you're so right. And also I think like you can think about this a bit selfishly as well, because I also think sometimes it is a bit annoying when you're like, you have to kind of be a bit proactive and be
exactly.
But also you can so put this on your CV and like you can be like, I'm proactive. Yeah, it's great professional development. You can put it as like a little skill set, and you can be like, I'm proactive. I went to my university, like I wanted this change and I got that change. And it's something that like you can use to like your advantage as well.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So that actually covered a lot of my next question, which was, do you have any personal experiences or observations regarding EDI at Durham that you'd like to share? Is there anything further you'd like to add before I move on?
I think like just really reiterating like the importance of getting involved, and like just because like across so many different things, whether that is within the university itself or like external organisations, like you can be a campus ambassador. Like I was a campus ambassador this year for Zero Gravity, which is like on about
Shout
social
out to Zero Gravity.
Hope you're listening. Like like it's social mobility and like you know, being kind of loud about it, and whether that's on your LinkedIn and stuff like
loud and proud.
And I think like, so even if you don't want to do it like through the university means, and like setting up your own, similar to what you're saying, like setting up your own kind of societies, like it's so easy to do that in Durham, and because there's so many things you can get involved in.
Like I think Mixup took off quite recently.
Like Mixup is
like,
and like that's like such a, I think out of all of the kind of like cultural groups, I don't know, that I'm in, like that one kind of is the one where I feel like most at home, and it's so it's like, it's strange in a way, because I think people think, oh, if you're coming to a really white place, like there's just only going to be white people, you can't meet people like you. But like before I came here, I never met so many like mixed race people, and then like kind of having those similar experiences have just been so like comforting for me, and so like supportive, and like literally the best space. So I think it's just kind of like, if you want a space, make it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's so easy to, and I think like if you ever have wanted to do that, like university is the time to, because you can get involved in anything.
And you're so supported by the unis to do that.
Yeah,
so
you are.
The student union, it's so easy to ratify like a society.
Yeah, it's where you only need like 5 people.
And also society for everything. I think
that
there's
is,
like a society for like eggs or something.
Yeah,
there's a society for
it's
everything.
crazy, Almost society. And I think as well, like, join those, don't be afraid to, when you come to uni, to like join these spaces and join these societies, because it's so refreshing to just speak to people who have had a similar background to you. And like, even if you're only meeting like once a week, or you're literally going like once a month, just to like chat to people, and like if anything's going on, they just understand it a bit more. And like, it's really nice to kind of have a balance of like meeting so many amazing people from all different backgrounds, but equally there is something special about meeting people who can relate to you and like have a similar background to you. And so if you go to those societies and you join those clubs, you get to meet so many different people, and you have like your little pockets of friendship groups. So you have your like friendship groups from 93% Club, your friendship groups from Mixed, your like housemates, your college mates. Like there's so many different people who you can chat to, and I think like being proactive and like going into those spaces that like are there is so important because it makes you feel so much more like at home in Durham.
Definitely.
Yeah, those lived experiences, definitely.
Yeah.
Like shared lived experiences. I think that's how I've like forged my closest friendships, my closest bonds, because it's just nice having that support network and also just seeing yourself in other people. And it's been so lovely, like meeting new people and learning new things from like people from different backgrounds, but meeting people with similar like lived experiences, like seeing yourself in them, it has like just the 4 years here, like university, you're gonna make great friendships anyway. It's just by the product of just being at university in such an intense environment, which is, you know, further education. But 4 years of going through the same experiences and understanding each other, it's just so nice. I think we all naturally like find people of like a similar lived experience because it is just comforting.
Yeah, it's so reassuring.
Yeah, definitely. And I know we like touched upon like, you know, the summer schools and the contextual offers, but what support systems and resources are available at Durham for students from diverse backgrounds?
I think, like, first off, because I know that we've mentioned about the college system and don't want to keep banging on about it, but every college has, like, a welfare committee, and then there will be, like, different representatives for different kind of minoritized groups. So you'll have your LGBTQ plus representative, you'll have your ethnic minorities rep, you'll probably have a working class rep as well. So kind of having loads of different people that you can go to who are also students and can just get it and, like, speak to, like, that's literally... you know, just from college. And then there's academic support, like you'll have an academic advisor who you can meet with and talk to. You can speak to your tutors. Like it depends on like what sort of thing you obviously want to like vent and talk about. But I know that I've even been to like my tutors like office hours, and I was just talking a bit about my experience as a student of colour, like in history. And he just sat there and he listened, and like we fed back and kind of said, like, shared ideas and experiences and stuff. And I think sometimes it is like, you know, in unlikely spaces you can also find that like support systems, and if you look for it, is there. And because of like the collegiate system, and then also you have like wider university, like I know that they have quite a good, I think in my experience anyway, like mental health services, and I think you can get like 6 free counselling sessions on the university. So there's just so many different, you know, or if you're struggling with your academics, you can email your department and be like, hey, like I'm really struggling at the moment. And there's like specific now as well, student wellbeing, I think they're called, like student support within every department as well. So it's just like there's so many avenues. And then on top of that, if you don't fancy like doing it through the university, you can do it on the student side with all of the societies, like no matter what society, whether it's
they all
like
have a welfare rep.
Like even if you're doing like literally like dodgeball, like they'll have like a welfare rep, do you know what I mean, on their like exec. So I think it's just, you know, there's so many opportunities to kind of like reach out.
Yeah, you're right. There's always someone to talk to.
Yeah.
And again, like it's the like don't be afraid to like send that email or like just have that Zoom
Put
call
your
with
hand up
one
and be
person.
like, I need help.
Yeah. And there's also like DCAD, which is I never know, Durham Centre for Academic Development.
Yeah.
And
that was good.
Yeah. And so they like help you with essays, and I know that like we were saying before this, that a lot of state school education, you're kind of taught to kind of write essays to the like to the assessment objectives, to the mark scheme. And I feel like DCAD are really good. And like DCAD are really good, especially for humanities degrees, about like writing that like university level essay and like up in like your
like
writing.
upskilling yourself in a way,
exactly. And
especially
like,
if you feel like you don't know how to do that, or you don't know who to speak to.
And you've never like had to do that before. And I also think there's a disability support scheme which is really great. So if you feel like you have like a learning difficulty or a disability that you haven't had diagnosed, they will like pay for your diagnosis and they will help you through that, and they will also help you get like extensions and grants and money. And then my one friend, like they paid for her new wheelchair, which was really good. And obviously they're so expensive and things that you just can't naturally afford all the time. And yeah, just things like that, like Durham has like so many wider support systems. And also what I was going to say was something happened to me where I was in the library the other day, well like weeks ago now because exams are over, but I was in the library and I just got I don't know what happened to me, you know when you just get a bit stressed, and I was just at the front talking to a guy and I couldn't sign this book out, and then I ended up just getting really stressed and really upset. And then anyway, one of like the head of the library ended up emailing me, and she like found my email and like found who I was and was like, I hope you're okay, and like stuff like that. And they're so like, there's so many kind people. Yeah, like there's so many kind staff here. And so like the library as well is another place I would definitely recommend going if you just like want to chat to staff, because they're so
the
helpful.
little snug.
Yeah, the little snug, and they're so helpful in terms of like communicating between you and your department and like helping you get the resources you need. So stuff like that. So yeah, there's just like endless options.
There is.
Okay, and just to circle back on MICSOC and Durham People of Colour Association, how does Durham University ensure cultural representation and inclusivity in its activities and curriculum?
So yeah, I think there's a lot of kind of student-led and student-run like cultural groups. Like there's, no matter how you kind of identify as a student of colour, there'll definitely be like a place for you, because like as a mixed race person, like I never thought that kind of there would be a society for that, if that makes sense. So it's been really nice to kind of find MICSOC, and we have our little potlucks, and we can talk about how, you know, our racial identity and kind of what being mixed has meant to us and how we've grown up and things like that, which has been such a lovely, like welcoming and comforting space. And then also with Durham People of Colour Association, we do have like fun socials, and we'll have like club nights, like catering to like more like, I guess, people of colour music and Afrobeats, and kind of very different from like the ABBA nights that you'll probably get used to in Durham. So yeah, I think there's a lot of like student-led things and more kind of on the socialising side as well, just in case like you're thinking about, I don't know, like what would it actually be like beyond kind of the academics and like beyond just like what you're, because university is literally not just about learning your degree, like it's so much wider than that, and obviously socialising, especially as a fresher, will be like a big part of your life. But I think like Durham definitely does support it. Like for instance, this year we're having the Durham People of Colour Association Culture Ball at Castle College, which is really nice that like Castle have agreed to collaborate with us on that, and we can, you know, celebrate all of our like cultures and kind of have that really nice kind of big event of the year to really champion like diversity at Durham, and to kind of, when, you know, all of the other balls are kind of like predominantly white just because of the demographics of Durham, it's nice to have that kind of space to celebrate as well, and not just, because I think a lot, when we were talking about it before, like a lot of the work with EDI or like Debunking and stuff, it is kind of like anti-racism work or kind of increasing like social mobility and things like that. But it's also nice to just be like, no, Durham is also there just as a place to celebrate, and like they're encouraging you to celebrate, and they're creating environments for you to do that. So I think that's like, it's really positive. And I think there's so many different kind of like activities inside the curriculum, I guess, and then also like outside of the curriculum and in the wider kind of university life.
Castle's beautiful as well, it's so nice.
Yeah, I know, I'm so excited.
But yeah, as well, and like you're saying about the curriculum, like, and I mean, I know you were like part of this, like English Lit have definitely like decolonised their curriculum, and I know now in second year, instead of doing their modules more like periodically based, so like Victorian and Renaissance, there's now like post-colonial modules and like more seminar modules on like more specific authors that are like actually a lot more diverse, because I think when you come to like classically academic uni, like you expect very like old-fashioned academics, and I think that they are working to like change that in the curriculum as well.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And I think like, as I mentioned before, the Decolonising the Curriculum internship is not just also for English, like it's across all departments, and it's such a good way to kind of get involved in like looking at what you're learning, because that's, you know, kind of what you're paying for, and being like, you know, thinking about things differently and kind of expanding how you see knowledge, and also thinking about like how to think critically about a university as an institution, because I think a lot of like kind of the things in EDI or a lot of the things in anti-racism, and it's about like the institution, and so decolonising really makes you think about why things are more about like systems, and why they're about like kind of inherited structures that we have, and how you can, you know, challenge that. Like that doesn't have to stay that way, you know. It is about like dismantling it, and that's kind of part of is not kind of anti-university in a sense. That is what the university is made for.
Yeah,
It's made for a place of learning. It's made for a place of like expanding your horizons. So I think like Durham definitely does promote that type of thinking, and I think that's so vital, like as a student.
Yeah, I agree, and it's so important to like enjoy what you're learning as well, and like you realise the influence of what you're learning when you're like you said, you realise it's an institution, and to like decolonise that, you're actually making active change that is gonna last and like have long-lasting legacies. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, that was liquid
alliteration. Yeah, I know. I was like, wow. But yeah, no, it's like it's having such an impact for years on, and like it's going to change people's thinking so much more than just like your essays and your exams and stuff like that.
No, definitely.
And that actually rounds me off really nicely to the next question. What advice would you give to prospective students who might be hesitant to come to Durham due to such stereotypes?
I think just apply, and I think just if you get the offer, and like if you come, like let's say you want to do the summer schools, or if you just come on like a post offer visit day or an open day, and if you like the course and you like the place, like you should come. Like don't let any misconceptions kind of put you off, because chances are they're not really they're really like hyped up, like we were saying, everything is so sensationalized, but like when you arrive, you will meet your people. University is such a big place, and even if Durham feels like, when you come and visit, it feels like a small town, it's massive. Like you've got so many colleges, so many societies. So like also within your department, like you'll meet people going to lectures, doing seminars. Like every course is also really social. So I would just say, just apply and like throw yourself into things when you're here. Like join the societies you want to join to, and also like when you're in, like, don't just put all the hype on Freshers Week. Like life consists after Freshers Week, and you can join more societies. You don't have to do every single thing in that first week. But what I will say is, like, if there's a society, let's say like 93% Club or Debunker, that you want to join, and perhaps there's people in your flat or like people that you're living with that don't want to go to those things, go by
Still
yourself.
go.
Like I would so 100% encourage. Just take it is anxiety inducing, it is nerve wracking, but you arrive and people are like. People there want to chat to you. And also, if you don't go in the first week, it doesn't mean that you can never go. You can go literally on your last week of your last year of uni. Like, they're going to accept you and they're going to want to talk to you. So I would just say, like, apply. And, like, if you want to come, don't let any misconceptions put you off. And when you're here, like, throw yourself into things and try new things. And just, like, college systems are so fun. And it is, like, I genuinely think Durham is such a special experience because of, like, the colleges. And you get to go to like formals and balls, which is like, I know, something that I don't think like a lot of us have ever done before. And it's so exciting. Yeah, take advantage of it. It's really fun. And to like throw yourself into such a unique university experience, and you can like join new sports with your colleges, things like that. Like it's such a fun time when you're here. And like, especially now, like it's summer now and like the weather's so amazing. So we're all like loving it. Yeah. And so I would just say, just generally like, apply, don't let any fears put you off, and when you're here throw yourself into things and like ask questions and say when you want change and send those emails and stuff like that.
No, I so agree. I think it is one of those things of like, you definitely attract what you put out. Like if you like show up, if you're consistent and you're kind of like going to places, meeting new people, and just having the mindset of, okay, like I know this is going to be tricky, like I know this is not going to be easy, because moving to uni, no matter where you go, it's not going to be easy. So then I feel like taking all of that and then still just being like, no, but I'm going to do it anyway, but like I'm going to come here anyway, because I know that this was like quite out of my comfort zone. Like I only made a kind of a last minute decision to come to Durham, and it wasn't really something that I like was necessarily, I was like, I'm not sure if this is for me at first, like I don't really know. And then I came and visited, and I was like, wow, like I was just blown away. I was like, this is so beautiful, and it's such like a nice place to study, such a good balance of like a calm place, but also like it is so lively because it is a proper student city. Like
it's like students or something crazy.
So then and it's nice that, because I think a lot of the time, like if you're coming like, I don't know, into a place where you're not really sure, you're not really comfortable, you're going to bump into whoever you know when you're walking down the street. Like it's so nice. So I think it is one of those things of just come here and also beyond kind of like kind of getting involved with what's already existing, like there's so much space for innovation, there's so much space for starting your own new society, for like there's literally just no limits on what you can do with that. So I think like if you have kind of you're like, I'm not sure about Durham. I think either like if you get the opportunity, definitely come visit, because I feel like you get the
I
idea of like
agree.
the structure, because it's kind of hard to like visualize before you come.
Yeah.
But if not, like I think just go for it. Go for it, because I think I can really look back on it and say like I don't actually have any regrets, even though I was, I did have all those preconceptions. I was a bit nervous. I wasn't really sure if this was going to be my place, but I know that it has become my place, and I know that didn't happen immediately, but that was just because like by kind of creating those spaces, by like making those friendships, and kind of like you make it your own community. You make like it is just kind of like you attract what you put out, sort of thing.
I agree. And also with the open days and like the post office visit days, you can like, if you email like the open day support team, like there should be like an email when you sign up, you can get like they can pay for your transport and you can get like bursaries and stuff. So if you're wanting to come to visit Durham but you don't think you can afford it, definitely email the access and engagement team and they'll definitely help pay for it.
Yeah, we're at such a pivotal point, I think, especially because we're at such a traditional university. Like we
it's like the third oldest.
Yeah, we have like actual, like if you could just see it walking down the Bailey, like the classes and stuff. But we're such a traditional university, but we are actively progressing and making like proactive change and stuff. So it's such a good time, I think, to join the university, because there have been so many students that have paved the way, and I think so many societies and so many associations that have been created and innovated, and these safe spaces. In the 4 years that I've been at Durham, it has been amazing to see the growth of the university. And I've always said like the Durham difference is Durham University students. I think everyone is so compassionate. Everyone is so, wanting these progressive, like positive changes. So even like us being on this podcast, and it's just, we want to showcase that Durham University is for you. And that's
so true. I think it is like that's such a good thing to say. I think like that it is for you, because it's not it's not for insert like random stereotype that you have of Durham that is just kind of sensationalized. Like there isn't like one Durham student, like there's just so many kind of like different experiences, because like kind of no matter what your interest is, like you can literally pursue that here, and it doesn't have to be academic. It doesn't have to, but it can be academic. There's just so many like
I think many things you can do.
I think also when you think about it, like also be proud of yourself to even be considering Durham. Like you've obviously done really well in school. Like you
deserve to be here.
You deserve to be
everyone else.
Exactly.
Like don't say no to yourself first, and it's just like don't close doors on yourself because you think Durham's just not going to be for me.
It's a good place to grow. It's definitely a good place to grow. Because when I think of like that little 18-year-old girl who's walking in, like do you know what I mean? Like,
what am I doing here?
She wouldn't recognise me, and I feel like that's such a good thing. Like I think if you can, stand at the like. All of us actually are like coming to the end of our university experiences, and we're here like, whoa, like all of the growth that we've made.
I feel better
like
equipped to go out
exactly.
And you should feel so I think it's sometimes easy to forget when you are here, like where you've come from, and like you should feel so proud.
Or how hard you've worked to get here.
How hard you've worked, and like we were talking today about like working jobs while studying and things like that, and how that's just like an extra layer of thing that you should be so proud of doing. And honestly, if you're in a position where you're considering Durham Uni, you could like you should honestly be giving yourself a pat on the back. And like it's easy to forget when you're here because you're stressed and like there's so many things going on.
And also everyone's done the same, so you're thinking, like I'm just, those A-level results were just whatever, but like you worked hard for them.
Exactly. And so I think honestly, like go into Durham with an attitude of like, I deserve to be here as much as literally anyone else, because I'm
going to make the most of it.
And you're going to make the most of it. You got into the same position, you're in the same corridor, you're doing the same courses, everyone else is you. So like
when the imposter syndrome kicks in, like
you've got to challenge it and say no.
Because like why would you actually be here? Do you know what I mean? Like
they wouldn't let you in if they didn't want you.
Like back yourself.
For sure.
Make the most of your university experience, and there are spaces here, but you belong at Durham University. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode. I'm going to end off here because it is 50 minutes long, which which
Sorry,
we have a lot to say. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for joining. I hope you guys enjoyed this epised. But we will not see you at the next one because it's the last one of the season.
Of the season.
Of the
See you guys. Bye guys.
But have a lovely day.
Bye.
Bye. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any further questions or comments, please don't hesitate to reach out to us on our social media channels at the Durham Student. See you at the next one.